My mother-in-law doesn't let me be intimate with my husband. My husband and I got married a year ago. He and I didn't live together before. In fact, we hardly saw each other because we both worked and studied at the same time. So our time was quite limited. We got married and lived together in his apartment. Unfortunately, 2 months after our wedding, his father died in an accident. My mother-in-law and my husband, who is an only child, were devastated as it was quite sudden. My mother-in-law, left alone, began to suggest to my husband that we move in with her to keep her company. But because she's from another state, we couldn't, due to our jobs and college. So she came to live with us. Our apartment is 2 rooms, so my mother-in-law occupied one, and my husband and I occupied the other. Now, my mother-in-law never really liked me. She's one of those mothers who think that no woman is good enough for her son. As a couple who are still in the honeymoon stage, we are intimate very frequently, every day, even up to twice a day. This changed when my mother-in-law arrived, since the apartment is small, so I didn't feel comfortable doing it with her living there. The thing is that when my husband and I would get intimate, my mother-in-law magically interrupted us. It didn't matter what time it was. Even if it was 3 a.m., she casually got up and knocked on our door asking, "What are we doing?" Or telling my husband that she feels bad because her head hurts, or things like that. This has been going on since my mother-in-law moved in with us. It's been a stressful 7 months. Besides, I have no privacy of any kind. She criticizes everything I do, especially my cooking. My husband tries very hard to support me, saying things like, "It's not true, Mom, the food tastes good." What really annoyed me was the fact that she started saying that several things of hers of value and money were lost in her room the day I stayed at home. I really got fed up. I told my husband that this really wasn't what I expected. I agreed to let her move in with us because my father-in-law passed away, and I was really trying to be empathetic to her and her pain. But I'm not going to let her call me a thief. Now I'm at my parents' house. My husband keeps calling me and sending me messages to come back, but I don't know what to do anymore. This is really stressful. Update. Thank you all for your advice and comments. I tried to read them all. I wanted to give you a little update. I returned to my husband last Thursday. We were talking and seeing each other while I lived with my parents. The first time I agreed to talk to him, I told him that he really had to do something about his mother because our relationship was going down the drain. He kicked his mother out. She didn't take it so well. Remember how I told you she wanted to sell her house? Well, she actually did. She put her house up for sale. What surprised me so much is that she listed her house well below the average cost, considering where that house is located. Apparently, she was about to close the deal with some potential buyers. She hasn't communicated with anyone since she left. We also don't know if she returned to her house. And now, everything is fine. My husband also thanked me because he couldn't stand having his mother in our apartment anymore. I also made it very clear to my husband that if his mother had behaved differently, I would never really have minded if she stayed with us. I feel a little bad for her, but she really brought it on herself. I was always kind despite her treatment. Glad your husband backed you up. Here's hoping he continues to hold the line. A grown woman asking a couple who are intimate, "What are you guys doing?" Like a curious kid? Wow. Am I the bad guy for giving my mother-in-law a fake copy of my house key and exposing her at Christmas dinner? I want to preface this by saying that I'm a 34-year-old woman and I married my husband, who is 37, a year ago. His mom is snoopy and very annoying. She can't help it. That's just how she is, as my dear in-laws say. My husband and I purchased a new house recently. My mother-in-law kept pushing to get an emergency key. She promised that she would only use it in an emergency, ignoring the fact that she had an emergency key to our old apartment and walked in on us being intimate twice. My husband didn't think it was a big deal. I just couldn't trust her, so I just sent her a fake key after she kept pushing it. She had a smug look on her face after I hand-delivered it to her. At Christmas dinner, My mother-in-law angrily called me out on the fact I gave her a fake copy of the house key. She shamed me in front of everyone for doing this. But in my defense, I asked her how she found out, and she said a few days ago she came over at 4 p.m. when my husband and I were out. I reminded her that she promised she wouldn't use it unless there was an emergency. I said, "So you tried to get in when there was no emergency, and you broke the promise you made to us." She looked red in the face, and the other family members started staring, and some even laughed at her for the face she made. She suddenly got up from her seat and rushed into the kitchen, where she had a huge meltdown so loud the next-door neighbors must have heard. Literally, I've never heard a 60-plus-year-old woman throw a tantrum like that. Needless to say, dinner was awkward, and my husband and sister were giving me looks. My husband actually went off on me in the car and said I lied, manipulated, humiliated, and exposed his mom, and said he wouldn't have let me get away with it had he known. We had an argument, and he is demanding I apologize to his mom for my childish behavior and for ruining Christmas dinner for the whole family. Am I the bad guy? Update. So this went off unexpectedly, and I thought I'd show my husband some pretty helpful comments I found here minutes ago, but he got mad at me when he saw it and said I was nuts to talk about his family online. He demanded my phone so he could delete it, but I refused, and I went upstairs into the bedroom. I had never seen him so agitated, and I didn't think he'd react like that, honestly. But thank you guys for your support. It really means so much. I'll update if I can. Thanks again. Not the bad guy. I'd rethink my marriage if my husband put his mother over me. But your husband seems to have no problem of you being humiliated and shamed in front of people. He seems to have no regards for your need of privacy and dignity. Let's face facts. You never owed her a key. She proved she isn't trustworthy. She's the one who decided to bring it up in front of other people, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Who's childish? A kid 1/10 of her age would have been embarrassed throwing tantrums like that. Your husband is an a-hole for not having your back 100%. He should never allow his family to cause a single problem for you, and especially shouldn't expect you to be a doormat for his mom. Do not apologize. Demand an apology from your mother-in-law and this useless husband of yours. Am I the bad guy for kicking out my mother-in-law for ruining my wedding? I'm a 24-year-old man, and I recently got married. My mother-in-law and I have had quite the past together. I always knew she hated me, but I never thought she would take it this far. My mother-in-law was living in our house for a while because she couldn't find a place, and she didn't want to get put in a home, the whole time living in my house. She has been ungrateful, refusing to contribute to paying bills or food, and won't thank me for the food my wife and I bring. It has become a problem, but I never thought too much of it. I popped the question to my wife-to-be in Las Vegas, specifically the roller Ferris wheel, and it was perfect. Our wedding day was thought out specifically with a date, time and place, and who we were going to hire, and even our dance. Our wedding took place 10 months later, and after all the planning, it went off perfectly. I was shocked to find out my mother-in-law picked the best white dress to wear, and it made my wife and me upset. The pictures looked like I was marrying 2 brides, and one so old it was just bad. When it came to revealing the bride and walking down the aisle, the whole time my mother-in-law was so unhappy, holding a grudge, and had the rudest look on her face. We come to the vows, and once we finish those, she yells, "Oh, please!" I was shocked, and everyone gasped. I couldn't believe what she said. I was about to have her kicked out, but my wife interfered and put a stop to that. During our special dance, my mother-in-law is watching us with a stink face, and then in the middle of our dance, which was quite slow and romantic, she yelled, "Give me my daughter back!" And I snapped. For the rest of my wedding, I was in a terrible mood, and so was my wife. I was so angry, and I was at my boiling point. When we got home, I snapped and told her to get out, pack her bags, and get your stuff and leave now. She was horrified and started apologizing, but it didn't feel real. I didn't buy it and made her pack her bags and told her to leave by tomorrow. My wife didn't do anything to stop me, and it kind of made me think she wanted her gone too. Anyway, she moved into a senior living home and has to pay her own bills. She's been nice and humble from then. One day, my wife came up to me and said I went too far and should have let her stay. Should I have let her stay? Am I the bad guy? No, you are definitely not the bad guy. Don't let your mother-in-law come between you and your wife. If she has already ruined your wedding, she could most certainly ruin your marriage. Get your mother-in-law out of your collective lives as soon as possible. Consider going no contact, at least on your part. Actions have consequences, and her consequences is to leave your home. Heaven forbid your wife backpedals on this and insists that her mother be allowed to move back in. Be ready to seek an annulment to the marriage. Am I the bad guy for not wanting to take my ex-husband's kids on vacation? I'm a 39-year-old woman and have been divorced from my 41-year-old ex-husband for 9 years. We have 2 kids, a 12-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl. My husband got married to his new wife, and they have 3 kids in total, 2 boys aged 9 and 5, and a 5-year-old girl. They're expecting a 4th one. My ex and I share custody of our kids. But within these 9 years, there have been drastic changes in our economic status. I got promotions and now earn near 6 figures. But my ex lost his job, and now his new job pays slightly less than his previous one. Here's the issue. Since I can afford to buy a lot of things for my own kids, my ex and his wife don't like it. They say it's unfair to their own kids because they cannot afford to buy new things like I do, and all the children should have the same stuff. Last year, I bought my son a laptop because he got the highest score on his exams. My ex didn't like it and told me that I'm spoiling my kids and making them into entitled brats. The issue arrived because his oldest, with his wife, also wanted a laptop. Their money is tight. He's the sole provider in their household, and his wife is mostly a homemaker, though she works part-time sometimes. However, it's not like I do this to show off. I do tell my kids to be humble about the things they get and not brag about them. I do buy gifts for my ex's kids on their birthdays and Christmas. In August, my entire family planned to go to Italy. It is supposed to be a family vacation. I'll be taking my kids with me. They're excited, too. My ex had no problem until he called me and asked if I could take his kids with me, too. I was kind of shocked. He explained that they cannot afford to travel, and his other kids were insisting that they go on holiday with us as well. They're sort of jealous of my kids for going abroad on a holiday. I straight up told him, no, I won't be taking responsibility for someone else's kids. Though I make a lot more money than he does, I cannot afford the accommodation for 6 people. I told him his kids are none of my concern. After he hung up, I got messages from his wife calling me a cruel witch for ruining her kids' happiness, and said, I hope you're happy making small children cry. God will be punishing a greedy witch like you. My dad thinks I did the right thing, but my mom thinks I went too far and told me not to take my kids so that their half-siblings don't hate them. My brother suggested that I pay half the price and let my ex pay the other half, which I know he will never do. I rejected both ideas. There is no way I would leave my kids for days to go on a holiday in another country. Was I really cruel? I know it's not the kids' fault. I understand their urge to go on holiday. But asking me to pay for their kids is too much. Edit. Since people are asking, he did cheat on me when I was pregnant with my daughter. His new wife is indeed his mistress. I didn't mention it because I didn't think it was relevant to the story here. The irony is she's a Christian woman. She thinks if she repents enough, God will forgive her sins. Also, she is extra mad at me because I told her that she should have invested in some birth control rather than whining about having too many kids to feed. We have an update as well. So yesterday, I went to my ex's house to pick up my kids. When I was there, his kids ran up to me and said they were very excited to go to Italy with me. I'm confused. I never mentioned the trip to them, nor did I tell my kids that I'd be taking their half-siblings with us. I called my ex and his wife and asked them to explain this. His wife was avoiding eye contact. I demanded an answer from her. She said that she could not break their kid's heart by telling them the truth. I swear to God, I was furious. I had enough of this entitled attitude. I yelled at her and told her she must have had screws loose inside her head if she thinks she can walk all over me. How dare she use her kids as a weapon? If she wants a break from babysitting her own kids, she should send them to her mother's house. I will not be a free babysitter for her kids. She did try to retaliate, but I was talking all over her. I cannot believe this woman would stoop so low. I screamed profanities at her. I was already having a bad day yesterday, and her entitled Karen behavior was the straw that broke the camel's back. I told my ex to fix the mess his wife made, otherwise I would take him to court. He tried to justify her intentions. I told him that I would stop sending gifts to his children if he didn't fix this. I had been nothing but polite to his wife, even knowing that she was the homewrecker that broke my home. But enough is enough. I'm done being nice to them. His 3 kids are not coming with me, and that is final. I even explained this to my kids, who were a little sad, but understood. Later that day at night, my ex called and apologized. He was humiliated by his mother for this. He's a grown man asking his ex-wife to provide for things he should be providing for his kids. He also had a fight with his wife because he didn't know his wife lied to his kids. He said he only had good intentions because he wanted all his kids to enjoy equal privileges. It is unfair of him to push this equal privilege thing when our kids don't have the privilege of coming from a complete family because their father was a nasty cheater. At least his other kids get a full-time dad and a full house. They don't have to shift houses every week. They don't have to go to therapy to understand why their lives are different. And all of this happened because he can't even be strong enough to keep his marital vows. He failed as a father to them, and he failed as a husband to me. And not only that, he had the audacity to blame me for the divorce. I told him if the roles were reversed, and it was I who cheated and got pregnant with another man's baby, would he accept me and the baby in his life? I still have yet to get an answer. He just said he was sorry and hung up. Sorry for venting. I've been having a really stressful day. I have yet to talk to my mom and brother about this issue. I just can't wait to go to Italy to drown myself in wine and stuff myself with real Italian pasta and pizza. Good for you for standing your ground. The new wife has a lot of nerve to try guilt-tripping you into providing for her kids. Then again, a lack of moral compass is how she got herself into the situation in the first place. Let me know what you would do if you're in this situation down below in the comments. If you subscribe, remember to click the bell icon for notifications. To enjoy all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description of this video. See you in the next video.